Alright, so we got a deal on a grip of these ACU giant 65 liter Army Molly bags, but they're ACU, which is not the best pattern. So I picked up 2 of them. I got one in its current configuration. I stripped the other one and I'm gonna try to dye it. Alright, the weather's absolutely terrible out here, but as you can see, I got all the pieces of this thing sitting in this tub. This is where the dye is gonna go. This is how it happens. Alright, so it's gonna take a cup of vinegar, at least one. Out of these, these were all partial from other dye jobs. So it's about maybe a third this dark green, probably a little more than a third, probably, yeah, about that of the tan, and then I threw some dark brown on the top. So it's gonna have that. But I started with reclaimed stuff from my last dye job, so these 2 are full of apple green already. They had the vinegar in them and everything. Over here I have my extra water. I'm gonna go up to 6 gallons, but I'm gonna use as many as I can to cover the pack and the stuff. So I may not use all this water. So over here it's just water. This is just extra if I end up needing it. It's because if you need it and you don't have it, it's worse. This for sure I'm going to use, and this for sure is not going to be enough. So I'm just looking ahead. After doing this a couple times, I've not my first rodeo, you know what I mean? All right. Okay. Now, these are almost there. 140 is the target number. I want it to be a little over 140 degrees, but I'm going to go ahead and pour my bottle of dye and my cup of vinegar in this one because it's already hit the 140 because it's a low volume. That's going to be my first pour. So it's going to lose temp when I put the dye and stuff in. I don't want to put it in early because I don't want the vinegar to evaporate out or whatever. Right when you're almost ready to pull the trigger on this is when I dump my dye and my vinegar in. Vinegar's for nylon. Use salt if you're doing cotton or natural fabrics like that. This probably isn't going to take very well because the nylon on these, the denier and the amount of synthetic fiber in these nylon for the, you know, the molly gear and stuff like that, sometimes it tends to not take the dye because it's so plastic that there's nothing for it to grab onto. So you got to go a little hotter. And what I've noticed is you get it a little over that 140, you get it to where it's almost boiling, you know, somewhere between 140 and 212. And then you let it sit in the pot until those pores close again, because when it gets hot it'll open, it'll grab a little bit of that dye. When it cools off it'll close. If it's in the dye when it does that, it'll take it a little better. And I'm going to try that, so just bear with me and we'll see what happens. All right, tropical storm coming in. So when I pour this stuff in the tub, you get you a pokey stick and you just keep dunking it in. Pretty easy. I threw a hat in here too because, you know, I'm a security contractor and I don't think I'm going to need any more desert hats because I'm kind of trying to get out of the biz here, you know what I mean? So figured why not throw it in there. But the most important parts here that I wanted to be dyed are on the bottom to the least important that I laid and arranged on the top. So this piece right here I keep touching, it's the back piece, like the kidney pad of the backpack. That's the thing you'll see the least. Under that is the straps, which the straps, yeah, they'll be noticeable, but they're not as important as the bag itself, which is underneath that, because the bag you'll see a mile away. It'll just be like, hey, here I am. And not really sure if this is going to take or not, because I'm looking and it doesn't look like it's sticking very well, but we'll give it the old college try, you know. All right, it's been quite a few minutes here. It's still steaming and it looks like the bag is taking some of this color. Hard to say until we get it in the washer, but I think we got a little bit of a purchase here on color. This back pad thing, it's being really resistant, but I'm not as worried about that as I am this other stuff. Looks like the straps here, they might be taking a bite too. And even if it's light, it'll be better. Anything's better than ACU. and I can use spray paint and other stuff to kind of go over this and have it meet me in the middle, but the ACU's got to go. Now what I'll do when this thing finally cools off, I'm just going to let it sit for the most part until it hits the equivalent of room temperature, and then I'm going to wash it in cold. In the quickest cycle I can do, it's just to get all that dye out, all that extra stuff that isn't going to take. And if I dry it, it'll be probably no heat because there's a waterproofing inside of that bag. I don't want to get that too hot. I don't want to agitate that and maybe compromise the bag. So I'm just going to air dry it a touch just to get it dry enough that I can put it back on the frame and just let nature take its course. But the hat took a little too much dye, so I pulled him out. I knew that was going to happen. I mean, that's okay. We'll see how much comes out in the wash, but I wanted it to be a little lighter than that. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Well, it came out a little dark, but here you go. In the elements, the pack I just dyed to the left, the ACU on the right. And again. One last comparison here. Like I said, I probably could have went a shade lighter on the green. You kind of get what you get when you do it. But on this video, it doesn't really come through that way, but the ACU is loud. And you can be the judge there.